I've been graphing as far as I can remember. I mean, I was doing stuff with 3D for Massive Attack probably when it was the Wild Bunch. You know what I mean? So that's how long ago that is. Just forever, mate. I mean, I think my main influences were TAT Crew, Tats Crew, which is still going actually, which is still going strong out of New York. As far as the purest form of graffiti, what I would say that crew is particularly infamous for. I mean, that's the kind of people that learn me. Do you know what I mean? That put me in the right mental attitude towards not just the finished product, but the attitude towards the art form, and about that's what Brim kind of brought to the table. But yeah, I mean, for a very long time, I mean, I was obviously caught the bug like a lot of those kind of early '80s people. I mean, it is ironic that it is kind of acceptable these days. It was a very, for us. I mean, I had a pretty difficult time with the estate where I was living. I still think that my whole premise was going to New York and seeing it from a real perspective. And you start to think about, well, these guys are all right and whatever else. But you have to think about you have to think about the social pressure they were under to actually execute that work. You know what I mean? No daylight, very minimal paint supply, going out there risking lives. Literally, a lot of people died. I was with Zephyr and Henry Chalfont in New York, Canal Street, not long ago, and me and Henry were doing it was a thing for I think it was for a DVD for Spank and Art that he did, and Star Wars. It was a limited edition thing, and it was really weird because we bumped into Zephyr just purely by accident on the street, and it was really weird because a lot of those writers had probably been writing for 35 years. It's like the 30th anniversary of TAT Crew this year. When you think about that, I think that's the kind of thing what's made it really easy for people like us to get involved in art generally. I think we just caught the bug, and I think it obviously spiraled into other things for me, because when I was doing one-man shows in Wolverhampton Art Gallery, it was outrageous. It was, it was stop the show, get him out of there. You know what I mean? There was a big kind of picket, and people wanted to stop it, and it was. And it's the same as for the Arnold Feeney. I mean, the Arnold Feeney was a little bit more forgiving, I think, with 3D and Massive Attack. At the time, Wild Bunch and I think Crime Angels came up from London, and Brim and Bio came from New York, and we were all converged in this space in Bristol. But it was Bristol had always been very artistic anyway, a little bit more forgiving, a bit more avant-garde. But I mean, I'm blessed really to kind of go. I think for me, it swings and roundabouts really. It's gone back around from another perspective, really.
And what was it that drew you to Bristol? Was it the art scene? Was it the avant-garde?
I think for me, really, it wasn't really that. I mean, I was kind of drawn to New York before Bristol. I went that kind of route round, really. We just got to Bristol for parties because they used to have the Moon Club. And, I think Wild Bunch had the best house parties in the country. It was known for underground parties. Whereas the Midlands was known for like kind of breaking and, that kind of thing. In the South, London was known for the kind of the graffiti. And I think that was what it was. It was very interesting, but it's weird. It's changed considerably more in the last 5 years than I think it has done in the last 15. I guess the attitude towards art has changed a lot.
Why do you think that is?
I think people socially take a long time to catch up with that way of thinking. Banks had good insight to social commentary. I mean, it's one of those things that's what he brought to the table with that kind of thing. I think a lot of people have got that conscious kind of that feeling of the way that the society is treating people, and the way that advertising, everything else is stuck down your throat. We were just trying to get our names on trains or trying to get our names on walls, and we were really still toying with the idea of the letter form. Do you know what I mean? And that's what was really important, because I always remember a quote from Bombing, which Joseph Reichert, a really famous art critic, said in the 1970s at a big art seminar in Italy, said that graffito, he named it, graffito in the plural, would take over, the letter form would take over the 90s, and it really did. And I think it's surpassed it again now, in terms of imagery and suggestion and social commentary, in the way that we've been bent these icons out of shape by social change, and capitalism's kind of moved into this really, almost damaging sometimes.
Do you think your art now is more of a social commentary than make a statement with words?
I don't think so. I think for me, really, I'm just really trying to mess around with different mediums with it. It doesn't necessarily. I think my empathy with women, for example, is more or less a personal thing. The last show that I did was all with women, nude women for that matter. That's my own artistic way of still trying to work out the empathy of women, or if I feel any towards that, for probably abandonment issues, for what I'm concerned. Maybe we look at it from a Freudian perspective, but that's my You know, I can go out and paint graffiti all day long. I did that. I got the T-shirt. In fact, I won my arse with it probably. You know, I've done so much with graph, and in that sense, that I think I love graffiti for what it's learnt me. It's learnt me the attitude towards life, let alone, you know, just getting into letter form. Do you know what I mean? But I think for me to go back into that, it's kind of like I've done it. Do you know what I mean? And I think for me, if it's progressing into spaces in walls, in places, and in interiors, I think you can just be more accentuated and try and just bend the art slightly, learn all of those techniques that you've learned. I mean, so many of those techniques that I've learned with art spanned over the last 15 years, really, that I can just kind of put into one melting pot, really, of ideals, really. I'm really old school in that sense. I think there is a thing, it's not in the dictionary, called b-boyism. It's a certain attitude that social, hanging out with people, getting together with people that aren't necessarily family, and creating that family, and creating a network of people that can help each other kind of get on. You know, like we did, you know, I did my first training in Wolverhampton, you know, a British rail train. I wouldn't be able to do it if I was like 18 and in, with like, you know, step ladders and all sorts. But you just, I think that being able to push the envelope of the music allowed me to do what I'm doing. I wouldn't have been able to do that if I never learned graffiti. There's no way I would never have learned to do what I'm doing now if it wasn't for graph. And I think that's why I paid graph homage in that sense. You know, I was in China last month with Brim, who's the guy that got me into this game in the first place, and we were sitting down eating a meal in some mad restaurant in Shanghai. This is like literally 2 weeks ago, and I said, it's all your fault I'm doing this shit, because this is like 27 years later for meeting this guy. And he says, you know what, I never thought I'd been selling Rolexes to Africans, but I am, you know what I mean? But it's amazing. I mean, it's ironic how the world's changed in that sense. But I never forget what Brim's thing wasn't necessarily the greatest graffiti writer in the world, but his attitude towards it you couldn't stand it and get anywhere near it, because it was just so forward thinking and about trying to push that. And I think that's what's really good about it. There's so many other kids that do this and that really want to push the envelope. And I mean, there's a lot of people as well that stopped doing it because they couldn't survive anymore with it, because they had too much shit going on in their lives. So we've been quite lucky to do that. I've been quite blessed that I've actually created a cushion through music to allow me to just sit here and sit at home and paint canvas. I was painting at 6 o'clock yesterday morning. I must be mad, you know.
Tell us about the exhibition we've got here.
Yeah, I mean, I've just got a few pieces in here, man. I mean, I just wanted to experiment with this whole kind of Mary Lane aspect of, because it always reminds me of those old B-52 bombers and seeing those kind of women, you know, sending men to their deaths, you know what I mean? And I've always just toyed with the idea of it, and obviously the one in the Afghan was just one of those ideas, you know. It's just the AK-47 and the burning of the Afghans, like, you know. It's kind of weird. I watch, you know, I turn on the news and turn the volume down, and it's like, it's pretty much fucked, isn't it, really? A lot of artists, I think, it's good seeing, it's like, it's a bit like when you're in a b-boy crew, one does one particular move and somebody does something else. It's good to see the contrast in stuff. If it was just full of my stuff, it'd be like cake. It's too much sometimes. It's nice to see the contrast of art and what everyone's thinking. That's what I like about art as well. How many, and also it's very surprising how many young kids that are younger, if you like, are really all doing it. Do you know what I mean? I guess we were all out kind of trying to nick paint and getting ready to do a wall somewhere at the end of the estate, where these guys are like, you know, okay, we've got it sussed. I think that the social change of how you go towards doing art's changed a lot. They've got hip and wise to it. Do you know what I mean? The yards are closed, so let's try and go around the outside and go get in another way.